Hey guys, welcome into another Valorant Guides video with your boy Soy. Now this week, I'm gonna do something a little bit different again. It's gonna be a little bit less of this and a little bit more of this. In this week's video, I'm going to be going over why just playing Duelist is not the way to go if you're looking to rank up or just become a better player in general. So no messing around, let's get into this week's video. Number one, you can really easily get stuck in one style of play. When you're playing a duelist, you're usually the first point of contact when it comes to actually entering the site, and that's great if you're really good at entry fragging and creating that space for your actual team to move into. But what about when you're on CT or defense side? You're going to have to use your almost exclusively attack-minded utility to defend? To become a more well-rounded and actually useful player, you should be looking at improving not only your strengths, but you should also be working on your weaknesses, possibly even more. An Omen who knows how and where to smoke a site can open that site up just as well as a Jett entering with their dash, whilst also having all of the utility benefits of being able to play multiple styles depending on the round and your team's objective. So try to branch out. You'd actually be surprised at what learning a different class or a completely different specific agent can do to your skills overall. Some of those skills will even actually be applicable to duelists. You might learn a bunch of skills and techniques that you would have only ever learnt had you played something other than a duelist. Number two, you're limiting your growth by not playing with more useful util. If you're only playing duelists, then generally you're going to learn a handful of abilities across a few agents that are all pretty similar. Reyna's Dismiss is very similar to Jett's Dash, which is pretty much the same as Razor's Satchels, which are pretty similar to Neon's Sprint, which is pretty similar to Yoru's Teleport. You get the gist. These are all useful bits of util to get out of a precarious situation. The good part of this is if you're learning to duelist, then it teaches you to be more confident. You have to take more duels knowing that you can likely just see you later from a fight if you need to. The negative of this is that if you only play duelist, then you're going to get very used to this style of play and you're going to eventually rely on it. You're going to take stupid duels against one or multiple people, and eventually you're just going to die, giving nothing to your team except a numbers disadvantage. I've said it a few times, but I highly recommend learning to become comfortable with at least one type of agent from every class. So that's a duelist, an initiator, a sentinel, and a controller. Do not learn Reyna and then move on to learning Jett before you even know how to play, say, a Killjoy or an Omen or a KO or any other non-duelist. I'm going to repeat that. Do not learn a second duelist before you've learnt an initiator, a sentinel, or a controller. Think about it this way. On attack, the duelist is expected to get kills and entry, but do you know who else can do that? Literally anybody. If you stick too rigidly to a class, you're actually limiting yourself, and after a certain elo, playing specifically to that class doesn't really make sense and it doesn't actually really apply anymore. For example, you can totally play Skye like a duelist. I actually made a video about this very thing, so check the description for the link to that, but it's entirely possible. You can even entry frag with KO. You can ascend to Battle Sage greatness if you really want. These agents' utils are far more useful than most duelists. It actually brings more complexity and more options to your team, and you can still frag out and get kills. So here are 4 agents that I would recommend to learn if you want an alternative to a duelist that has useful util for not only you, but your team as well. First, you have KO. You can play hyper aggressively with KO thanks to his flashes and his molly. His ultimate brings him back from the dead, so you can use him very much like a duelist. But outside of that, his util actually helps the team, thanks to his knife that tells your team if one or multiple enemies are at a specific point on the map. And his ultimate also disables all enemy util within range. He's a duelist with added benefits, and he's absolutely one that I would recommend learning. Next, you have Skye. Skye's flashes are the best flashes in the game, no questions asked. Not only do they flash, but they make a sound if they flashed an enemy, so you get a flash and recon information for your team. Her dog is also great for clearing angles into the site, and she can heal her team. Her ultimate also gives away the location of the enemy by searching for them, meaning that you can literally push up with that ultimate and take a site really easily. Next you have Omen. Now Omen's smokes, especially on smaller maps like Icebox, can shut down entire sites, making entry that much easier and way more difficult to actually defend against. His blind is insane at clearing angles, and his shrouded step gets him into positions that he would never be expected to be in, so you can pretty much entry with Omen despite the fact that he's actually a controller. Lastly we have Sage. Now due to her self-heal being nerfed, it's actually a lot harder to battle Sage, but she's still a fantastic option to have on the team. Not only can she put up a wall that takes a lot of bullets to break through, thus giving you straight access to a site, but she can heal teammates and slow down the enemies or areas, buying you and your team time to set up, plant, and get your position sorted. Number 3, you become less effective as you rank up. Another thing you're going to notice, especially at the start of new episodes and acts, once they've done all the rank resets, is that a lot of people will start insta-locking duelists hard. I actually don't have a problem with this, as say you're a plat and you get placed in silver 2 at the start of a new episode, the fastest way to rank back up is to get wins as quickly as possible. And this is doable in these situations, as you're going to mostly be playing with people around your skill, plus a bunch of people who perform well at the end of the last act and are new to that elo itself. So if you insta-lock a duelist with the mix of people that you're used to playing with and people that are objectively worse than you, you're more likely to drop a ton of kills and really influence the game itself. But a month or so later, when everyone's sort of back to the rank that they should be in, if you're still insta-locking a duelist, then the odds are you're not going to be having the same effect that you would have had a month beforehand, because pretty much everybody around you is the same skill level now. So what you tend to notice is the first month after a new act or episode, all the top fraggers are duelists, and then over the course of a month or two, it gradually becomes much more varied. So what you should be doing is not sticking to this tactic of insta-locking duelists, except for maybe the first few weeks. You should maybe play another role whilst trying to have a greater impact for the team instead of just for yourself like you were doing at the start of the act. So as the act itself develops, you should be developing alongside it. Don't get me wrong, there's still going to be insta-lock jets dropping 30 kills in pretty much any elo, but most of us aren't that guy, or at least aren't that guy consistently enough. I would rather have an off game where I dropped single-digit kills, but I was a cipher and basically locked the entire site down single-handedly. This is more useful than playing a jet and getting single-digit kills, because at that point, you're basically just a CSGO player and you're offering very little to your team. So remember, the goal is to win, and you need to bring something to the table to make that happen. Number 4. So lastly, you have the mental aspect. A lot, not all, but a lot of people who insta-lock duelists tend to be less than happy when things aren't going their way. I've noticed over thousands of games that due to there being the expectation that a duelist is going to be top fragging, if that player can't handle the pressure and they're not getting those kills, then they are the quickest people to blame their teammates, bait their teammates, become toxic, or even throw the game itself. If you're feeling good and in control of the mental side of the game, then this point is probably less applicable to you, but to a lot of people, that added pressure of playing a duelist can be unnecessary stress. Like I said, you can absolutely top frag with any agent, but there won't be the expectation to do so if you're, say, an initiator or a controller, or a Chad Sentinel. So if you're still learning, or if you're not altogether that confident with your gameplay just yet, then maybe playing a more useful agent in comp and then playing duelists in swift play before eventually easing those duelists into your competitive play is the way to go. I pretty much recommend this in general as a great way to learn new agents and strats and all kinds of things, because it's so much more simple on swift play to learn these things quickly. All you're really trying to do is get the muscle memory down with these agents and with these maps, which you can then move across to your competitive play where you're gonna have that muscle memory and you're going to have some confidence. So this tip will preserve your mental as far as the game goes and will put less pressure on yourself to get kills, whilst you can still influence the game with your util and get kills if you're playing well. Okay guys, thank you for watching another video. Hope you liked it. If you've got any questions or if you think that playing a duelist or not playing a duelist is a good or a bad thing to do, drop it in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. I will see you all next week. Thank you so much again for watching. Peace out from your boy Soy.